Hey, I'm Carter Morris, a volunteer at Club RCA, and I've been involved for the last year with a wonderful group of volunteers who have planned a beautiful new garden to add to our program activities at Club RCA. And now we're in the entry room to the garden, and we're excited to show you the garden right now. Come on. The garden was designed by Edward Doherty as a gift to the program here at Second Ponce de Leon, the ministry of Club RCA. He's a well-known landscape architect, and he gave us his greatest gift in designing this garden. Edward planned a beautiful, welcoming patio made out of Tennessee crab orchard. It leads to a circular path walkway around a calm green oasis in the center of the garden. The fun thing is that in the spring, that calm green oasis will be a riot of beautiful tete-a-tete daffodils to welcome us then. We're just outside the door, entering into the garden again, and I want to show Wendy Leverant, our wonderful director, who is demonstrating how lovely this locust arbor will be in the future. It will have beautiful Lady Banks roses growing all over it, and they bloom in the springtime. Just imagine when all the vines grow and warm up all these walls. It'll be a cool, shady place for our members to relax. Our group decided to plant plants that will evoke wonderful memories of our youth in gardens, but also new plants we're not as familiar with. One person recommended a roses blush blueberry bush. They don't grow very large, but the blueberries are small and very sweet. We will have more color along this bed with lantana, which is about to bloom shortly. And in the raised bed, oh my goodness, there's a riot of many very healthy herbs, from chocolate mint to catnip. There are 5 beautiful chrysanthemums that will bloom in October. They're called Ryan's Russet. They will be a great welcome visually to the garden. Next you'll see some thyme and oregano. And let me stop here just so you can see the beautiful miniatures that Terry Bond designed over many years and has given to our program. Our members will have so much fun creating stories out of a vast array that Terry created and gave to us, and it's going to be so much fun to see what stories we can tell with these miniatures. Now, I'd like to keep on going down this border. Here is lemon balm, more chocolate catnip with wonderful, you will see, maybe we'll catch it. There's a wonderful little family of pale green lizards that live down here in this garden. The tree above us is called a Magnolia stellata, and it will be blooming in January and February to brighten our winter days. And now we're going to take a little stroll along the longest wall and garden below it at Sarah's Garden. We're just below East Wesley Road. Now, you'll probably hear some of the traffic. This wall will be warmed up, if you can imagine having beautiful vines growing across it and attached to it. Along this border, we've got wonderful plants I'll highlight some. Many of you know fig vine, which is already attaching to the wall, and you know it will take off and cover that wall before we know it. A lot of the plants along this walk were given by people who care about Sarah's Garden enough to raid their own gardens, and they brought us plants such as the grasses, the chocolate mint ajuga down on the lower ground cover. There are heucheras or coral bells from Catherine Elsis's garden. And here's a pretty little hardy begonia that comes back year after year, and that's from my garden. We have such a great plant, the southern shield fern from Harriet Kirkpatrick's garden. Harriet gave us some Lenten roses. Catherine Elsis gave us, next to the Lenten roses, beautiful, beautiful Japanese painted ferns. The phlox add a nice touch of bright white color here in the summer. And we've got the wonderful autumn ferns. I believe they're called autumn ferns because their new foliage looks like it's fall, but it's not. Now, here we are. This is another vine that I really want to show you. It is going to attach to the wall and cover this wall, and it's an old-fashioned vine called cross vine. It'll bloom a beautiful orange trumpet flower in the spring. And now we're back in the shade at the end of the long walk, and I want to introduce you to a beautiful Camellia sasanqua. It will be blooming white, pretty flowers again in the winter, in the colder months, and it will grow so large, and it'll be a signature piece in this area. But here's the fun part. There's a nest. We had a mockingbird family in this sasanqua. Last month the birds fledged, but it was so much fun watching the parents, mockingbirds, building the nest and tending their little eggs and then their little babies. This garden, I think, is welcoming to wildlife because they feel so safe in here. There are not as many predators, obviously, because it's a walled area. Edward Doherty designed a second arbor. It's beautiful. It is, you will see how beautiful it will be when all these plants grow. And the arch is echoing the arch behind it, and it's massive and beautiful and welcoming. A couple of fun plants to point out. The tall shrub here is a blueberry bush, and it produced so many blueberries this spring. And below it is a gardenia. It's called Frostproof, and it was just beautiful this spring with such fragrant flowers. A friend of mine saw that we needed some more plants on this arbor, and she donated these beautiful honeysuckles. They are fragrant and elegant at the same time. We're under the arbor again, the wonderful pipe arbor, and I'd like to show you a very special plant behind the bench. It's called sensitive fern, and it was given to us by our garden group member, Jane Brand. It's special because her mother gave it to her in 1980 from her own garden in New Jersey, and Jane brought it down to her new garden in Atlanta all those years ago. It's very meaningful to have plants that have those stories. Our vine is the Confederate jasmine. It's going to take off and cover this entire arbor, and you know how fragrant those blossoms are in late spring and early summer. It will just be divine to sit under this arbor and walk past these blossoms. Another fun plant is a raspberry plant given to us by a landscaper who is a supporter of this garden. I've had one delicious raspberries, all it has produced, but there's some blossoms coming back now, and maybe there'll be some more. Next to the next to the raspberry is a Roman beauty rosemary. Every garden needs the rosemary. We will cut it, we will smell it, we will cook with it when our activities begin again. And quite important is a wonderful strawberry pot Virginia Almand gave to the garden. We didn't plant it this year, but when we do next year, it will be bursting with healthy, juicy strawberries for us to pick. And now we're about to enter a long border that is under the wall of the church sanctuary. It is a garden paradise with annuals and perennials and herbs, and the signature plant over here that is the Sweet 100 cherry tomato. It is the most prolific plant I've ever seen in my life. And here's a beauty. I think I'll test it for you. Good. Wonderful. Now, along this border you'll see zinnias, zinnias, zinnias. They are so fun. They're an annual, but we can cut them and just enjoy them in place. There's some healthy mint here. Delicious mint from Harriet Kirkpatrick's garden. Shasta daisies. A wonderful plant called Joe Pye weed. It blooms, as you can tell, in late summer. It's called Little Joe because it's not as tall as the native plants that grow in the wild. Behind the Joe Pye weed is a type of sunflower. My daughter gave it to our garden. We call it swamp flower, but it's just going to have bright yellow flowers in about a month. And below it is black and blue salvia, very vibrant color. Speaking of colors, the wildlife loves it in here. The bees come, the butterflies. It's a good place. Our tea olive is going to grow and grow and grow. It's a very fragrant plant, and it's very classic southern plant, but I must show you what's inside. A nest. A cardinal family took up residence. They made the nest in early spring. It was fun to watch them building it, flying back and forth, and then they had 3 beautiful blue eggs and 3 beautiful little birds in this garden. As we go along, these plants are repeated from the other side. There are a few different plants, but these are similar. And here we go, black-eyed Susans. Everybody loves those for the end of summer beauty. And boy, you can really see lots of cherry tomatoes ripe for the picking. This will wrap up our tour of Sarah's garden. We have so much to look forward to. Fun times out here. There'll be more pots, and Farmer Fred and Farmer Joe Veal are going to plant a lot of vegetables next year for us to garden and tend. There are weeds that we'll be needing to pluck up, so come on and enjoy Sarah's garden when we can all get together again.
My name is Virginia Almand, and I am an avid gardener. My husband and I are both volunteers here at Club RCA. I am a horticulture judge for the Garden Club of America. I have worked with the Atlanta Speech School children, teaching in their classrooms and making gardens for the individual classes. I have worked at Skyland Trail and have been chairman of horticulture for the park at St. Luke's, downtown Atlanta. I have grow lights in my basement, and I love working with them. Now, the purpose of a grow light is to replicate nature. We have light, as you can see, above. The trays are filled with pebbles, and the pebbles will have water in them, so you have extra moisture. The lights are on a timer, and plants have to rest just like people. Plants need 16 hours of light, but then they need 8 hours of dark. So we can do that here. Also, we can give our plants bottom heat. This is a heating pad made for plants, and if we put one of our little trays on that, it speeds up the seed germination or the rooting of the stem. Here at RCA, we are doing 3 things really. We're going to start new plants to put in Sarah's garden. We're going to also start new plants for the members to take home. And then in the colder months, we'll be able to grow plants under our grow light that would not survive if they were put outside. There are many different methods of propagation. There's tissue culture, grafting, air layering, division, starting from seed, and using different parts of a plant, such as the stem, leaf, or root. I will demonstrate the 3 methods we are going to use here at Club RCA. with our grow lights. I will have labels made for each of the products. This is just what I did for demo. It's got the name of the person, the name of the plant, and the date. I am sure that the RCA members will make their own much more creative labels. They'll have fun doing that. The first plant I'm going to work with is a wonderful little plant. This is called Palea peperomioides. We can call it the Chinese money plant because you see it looks like a coin. The stem comes right out of the back of the leaf. It's kind of a cool plant. Now this one I'm calling by division because, as you can see, this little plant has made baby plants in the pot. Can you see that? I'm going to lift with a fork. I like to use a fork because it doesn't cut the roots. Let me see if I can just lift out this little plant and give him his own little pot. Now it's kind of stuck. I think I'll use my clipper to separate it from its mother plant. There we go. Now, see, I have a new plant. And I'm going to put that in this little pot. Now, the pot is filled with regular potting soil. Soil is mixed that you can buy at Pike's or Ace or anywhere. I'm going to put this little plant in its own pot, trying to get it in the middle. Now, this soil is already moistened, but I'm going to give it a little more water just to make sure it doesn't have any air pockets and that it's well watered. Okay, now we can put mama plant and baby back over here. Now that's the first kind of propagation, division. Now the second one will be marigold seeds here. You should always read the back of the seed packet. This tells me to plant the seeds 1/4 of an inch deep. That's not very deep. And that we should have germination between 7 and 10 days. So, I like to put at least 2 seeds in each pot just to make sure that I get results. And the little marigold seeds, I'm going to use a pencil to make a hole in each one. And see, I already put the label, and you always have a label. The name of the plant, the name of the person doing the propagating, and the date. All right, so I have 6 little pots, and I'm going to put 2 seeds in each hole. And these will come up very soon, and we're going to put them in Sarah's garden. As I said other times, we'll grow things that the members can take home. All right. Now, I'm going to cover the seed just 1/4 of an inch deep. And though this soil has been watered, I'm going to water them again. Now, this is not potting soil like we had with the pot for the Palea. This is what they call the seedling mix. And it's really just milled sphagnum moss with a little perlite. It's more friable, as they say. That means able to be crumbled, and it's easier for the roots to develop. And we're going to use this seedling mix for seeds and for the stem cuttings that I'll do in a few minutes. Now, as I said, the heating pad will speed up the germination, and we want more moist air. So even though the pebbles have water, I'm going to give this little tray a top. So now, probably we will not have to re-water these. Germination is in 7 to 10 days. Probably don't even need to remove the top. That'll be enough water to get them growing. All right, we've just started our marigold seeds, and I found a wonderful little poem on the internet. I have to say, I did not write this poem. I love it. Inside the seed, all bundled up tight, a tiny plant grows, needing water and light. I'll plant it in soil, let it catch the sun's glow, then water it gently and watch the plant grow. And we'll put this up on our heating pad. All right, the next way we're going to propagate is just in water. And I'm going to use a stem or leaf from 3 different plants. We have over here heterohelix, that's just English ivy. We have begonia barrowii, or it's known as an eyelash begonia. And we have rosemary. All 3 of those are easy to propagate and should take just about 4 weeks. We should have roots that are sufficient to grow. All right, so we have now taken our cuttings and put them in rootone, and they're going to grow. It's a fascinating thing to me. If I cut off my thumb, could I grow a new hand? Of course not. But isn't nature wonderful? We can grow in most any plant using part of the plant and grow a whole new plant. Okay, once again, the label has a person's name, the name of the plant, and the date. And this one says heterohelix. So I'm going to put, I think, 2 of them in here. And that's really all you have to do to grow in water. And then we have the begonia barrowii. That sweet, pretty little leaf. And I'm going to put 2 of those over here. And I didn't tell you this, and I should. You take your cutting and then you remove the bottom stems so that when it goes in the water, it doesn't have a leaf. I did that with the hetera and also with the begonia. And now I'll put 2 rosemaries there. Now, once again, we would like to give this, now this does not have to have top on it. We're going to leave that one open. But I put it up here. You like to have just 4 inches between the plant and the light, and the beauty of this setup is these are adjustable. We can have our lights to the top, like I have here, or closer to my propagation. All right, now we're going to do one more propagation, and that's in, once again, in the seedling mix. Not in soil, but regular seedling mix, which is just the sphagnum moss and perlite. Now, to do this, we have a rooting, this is called rootone. It's a rooting powder that will stimulate the roots. The cambium layer will produce the roots, but this just speeds it up. It would probably root if I didn't use it, but I like to use it. So here, we're gonna first dip the stem in water. Oh, and let me tell you this. You do not want to directly put your stem in the container because that will contaminate it. So that's why I have put some of the rooting powder here in a dish. Okay, so I'm going to put rooting powder on there. And once again, I'm going to use my pencil. And this is where I put it in carefully because I don't want to knock off the rooting powder. And then I'm going to firm it like that. That's the rosemary. Now here's our begonia. And put the rootone on that. Make a little hole so I won't knock off the powder. You can root in so many different things. I like the seedling mix, but you could do it in plain perlite, vermiculite, sand. Different gardeners have their own preference. Okay, and this is our interesting kind of English ivy, I think, called brocam. Okay, now to encourage growth, we do need to have a lot of moist air. So I'm going to put my top back on and place this also on the heating pad because the bottom heat will help that. All right, so when I said replicate nature, we've even made it easier for these things to grow. We're helping them in all ways. Now, it usually takes 3 to 4 weeks for there to be enough roots. And I need to tell you one other thing about the water. The water has to be changed every 5 days. You need to put fresh water in there. All right, now these are just some ideas. This isn't a definite calendar, but these are things that could happen during the year here at RCA. In January, it's a great time to force bulbs. They're easy to force. The last average frost date in Atlanta is March 23, and seeds may be started 4 to 6 weeks before the last frost, which would mean the middle of February. So in February, I'm suggesting we might start lettuce seeds. Lettuce, so many different kinds of lettuce, they're beautiful to grow, and some of those can be put out in the garden, or the members can enjoy having a salad that they grew themselves. We could start zinnias and tomatoes in March that could be put out into the garden, and the members will enjoy eating the tomatoes. In April, we could root rosemary as we did today. That could go out in the garden or go home with the members. In May, we'll find some little individual seed flats and fill them with dirt and plant grass. And the following month, when the grass is up, we can use some of these wonderful little props. We have homes and churches, we have fences, and each member could design their own little landscape, and it could grow here or be moved out into the garden. In June, we would make the little fairy gardens, and then in July, plant pots of patriotic colors, red, white, and blue. Would be fun, and that would be for the members to take home. In August, I would suggest maybe growing some bug repellent plants. Bug repellent plants would be something like scented geranium, actually marigolds, or the citronella grass. In September, we would plant out, that's a good time in Atlanta to plant out pansies, so I would suggest they would plant some pansies outside. It's a hardy annual here in Atlanta. October, I would like to suggest rooting all kinds of ivies. There's so many, variegated, curly, different kind of ivies, that once they're rooted in December, we would then plant an ivy wreath and add some red berries for the members to take home. And in November, which is the height of leaf season, we will collect and talk about fall leaves. So you can see a grow light, there's so many wonderful things you can do with it. And I'm so glad that the RCA members, caregivers, companions, and other volunteers will have the joy of gardening with the grow light. The therapeutic benefits of gardening will bring great satisfaction to all. So come grow with us. Thank you.